Good evening and welcome to the Public Art Select Committee regular meeting being held here at Municipal Hall. And as always, welcome to the traditional territory of the Squamish people where we are holding our meeting tonight. Item number 1 on our agenda is adoption of the agenda. So the recommendation from staff is that the Public Art Select Committee agenda for October the 2nd be adopted. Who shall move that? Moved by Jackie and seconded by Angela. All those in favor? Perfect, carried, unanimous. Item number 1 on our agenda tonight is committee minutes, and with your agenda you received the minutes from the Public Art Select Committee of September the 4th, and we have a staff recommendation that the Public Art Select Committee minutes dated September 4th, 2019 be approved as presented. Can I have somebody move that? Moved by Catherine and seconded by Amy. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion passed, unanimous. Thank you. And is there any business arising out of those meetings? Jackie?
The Squander Mirror Festival update, we have deferred it. Item number 3 on page 4 or 5.
Okay, and the minutes reflect that it was deferred?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Did we didn't attach a date to that deferral, did we, Devin? Do you remember?
No, I
Just wondered.
do not recall. Stan was unable to make it, and I believe the direction to be that we would forward out the status, which happened a couple of days after the Public Art Committee.
So do we want or need for him to come back to us at any point at a future meeting?
I suspect, I've been following, Stan and I have been in communication. I'm not sure he's ready yet. I think the next appropriate time I would recommend to the committee is that when he's complete, and it seems like he's almost there,
Okay.
not quite. But let's give him another few weeks.
So should we table it for the November meeting?
You bet.
Should we table it for the November meeting?
Well, we don't need to take any action.
No, I mean, does he need to come and report back to us? I don't know, I'm asking.
Well, I'd like to just leave it with Devin, between Devin and Stan to sort out. And I would anticipate we'd have some kind of update
Yeah.
in November if Stan isn't actually on the agenda.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Absolutely.
Good. Is there any other business arising out of those minutes from our meeting last month? Okay, great. I'm just going to inject one item here at this point that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with those meetings, but I want you all to know that we're joined tonight by Sarah Dicker, who is the acting manager of arts and culture. Congratulations, Sarah. That's a nice promotion for Sarah. And the astute amongst us might have noted that we've known Devin as the mayor of arts and culture, or the
mayor. Queen.
mayor, manager of arts and culture. So Devin no longer has that title, and Devin is currently the acting director of recreation services. So Devin will continue to be a resource to our committee because she's so dedicated to our work here. But really what's happening is Devin's work and focus is transitioning over to Sarah. And we will for sure be seeing more of Sarah into the future, and probably still just as much of Devin. But the idea is we're less Devin and more Sarah. I have a feeling we're going to still continue to see a lot of Devin, I hope.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, Devin. There is nothing under delegations and petitions tonight unless anybody, no, good. So that's going to take us to number 5, our business for this evening. And the first item under business is the banner competition. And while my name is attached to the banner competition, I am going to hand you over to Devin, who knows a whole lot more about this than I do at this point.
Yeah. So as we've dabbled in before, in chatting about the banner competition, so the operations department will require new banners as of, well, the existing banners will come down, I think, in the next few weeks, and then they will not go back up. They have lived their banner life, and it is time for them to have other experiences. And so we start, your job as the Public Art Committee and our job for Sarah and myself is to support you in the adjudication of a street banner competition. So Sarah has kindly revamped, based on some feedback, the initial banner competition from 2016. And there are some key items that you guys as a committee should discuss. May I see a copy of that? Yep. So how this is going to go ideally is that the committee is feeling comfortable about the call. Artists are given 2 months, and that ideally you guys would adjudicate in your December meeting. And upon the selected winner, we would move forward with marketing, and staff basically manage it from there in terms of getting the file to the printer, and operations takes care of the rest. The number of banners since the 2016 banner competition, I would say we probably added, I don't know, 20 to 30 street poles. So not all of them are downtown anymore, but they're still, the majority of them still exist in our downtown core. I think we're printing around 150, 156. And so that translates into approximately 75 poles. I can pull up some photos if you guys would like. Is everyone, I know I'm very familiar with 3 different banners that are currently up, but I'm all too pleased to show off Sarah Smythe's work.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Smythe? Symes. Thank you.
How old are they now? 2 years?
4 years.
4 years?
4 years.
Wow, okay.
4 years. So this is not going well right now. This is what happens when you...
And are there particular streets that they are?
No.
Okay.
So they were meant to be intermixed with no kind of pattern or repeat. Like it's not like Cleveland was supposed to get the house sound, and then Second Ave was supposed to get the chief.
Okay. But is the deadline meant to be November 1st then, or December?
It would be backed out from a couple of days on the December public art meeting,
Okay.
just so that staff have time to actually prepare the documents for you guys.
This is going to be announced.
This is going to be announced. Actually, I am making some assumptions here that this is something that the Public Art Committee would like to adjudicate and participate in, because we've discussed it. But, you know, there is a choice. You guys can.
Well, I dare anyone at this table to say no.
Right?
Are there any no's? We're all.
Just for fun?
We're all.
Just for fun.
here.
I know, this is not coming up the way.
Devin, if you go, scroll up to the top.
Help me,
Yeah.
Peter, help me.
No, low down, so scroll that page as you were on a second ago. So scroll on the blue. Yeah, that's it, keep going. Is that the top? No, keep going, all the way to the top.
Okay.
Okay, go back a page you were on before. So top right, see it says full page, see where it says follow?
Oh, yeah.
Can you see
Full
follow to the right of that?
To the right,
To the
right corner.
Yep.
To the right of that?
Just to the-
Look, that's it. Oh, that didn't work. Sorry. That's
Oh.
what's going on. Give me a full page.
Just,
You
click
press
on the one that
control
you want
minus,
to.
it zooms out.
Do you think if I do this?
That's
There it
perfect.
is.
There, that's perfect.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Oh, so that's pretty.
Is that enough?
So
Will
that
actually
is
open?
one of the
No,
current
no.
designs?
That's one of them.
But if
That's
we
how
can,
sound.
at least we can see it in full.
In the thumbnail.
They can,
I
the
think
best
I
laid
get
plans,
SharePoint.
I'm sorry.
It's all
Okay.
good.
SharePoint, hang on.
SharePoint, thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
I didn't have the guts to say it.
I could curse on,
Microsoft, isn't it?
curse on about SharePoint. Could you put it into thumbnail?
Yeah, she's not-
Here
she's
Well, there-
Yeah,
there you
just-
go.
Just doing that gives.
There, yeah.
Yeah,
That's great.
so that's
Yeah.
the river one.
That's good.
And then this is the
House
sound, which some of the originals, which were printed with a slight color variation, are still for sale at the District of Squamish for $45.
Yeah, meaning to scrape that money together.
I can book anyone.
I like that one.
And then the chief. So those were her 3 winning submissions.
And just to give you an idea, when we selected them, the river one in particular, we requested color variations and things like that. It was very interactive between the committee and the artist.
Mhm.
So, just in case, just for future reference when we're making that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, do you want to take them through some
Yep.
design guidelines, and that can help maybe spur some discussion on any changes that the committee might like to see?
Okay, so I basically, as Devin said, took the old call for artists and revamped it. And when I was revising it, the things that stood out to me is what is highlighted in yellow in the application. So I thought that the committee might want to relook at the design guidelines and decide whether you want to keep it that open, whether you want to focus on a particular bullet point there, whether you want to come up with something new. It's worthwhile thinking about. It is pretty open at the moment, which, could draw in a wide variety of applicants, which is good. Then if you turn over to the next page, I thought that maybe we could open it up to artists outside of Squamish as well, but that's up to the committee. And then also I thought it might be worthwhile looking at the compensation of $500, as it is quite a detailed application. Maybe we could up that if the committee deemed that worthwhile. And then I just threw together those timelines, but obviously we can push it back to December to give a wider window for submissions to come through. So they were the things that I thought maybe we could discuss tonight.
Angela, did I see your hand there?
Yeah, I was just thinking, because it's literally less than a month away now, I'm wondering if that might be a little bit too soon. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's a little
I
tight.
think-
I was being optimistic.
Yeah, no.
Be optimistic.
Yes, absolutely.
But when you plan to make the announcement,
I was thinking if the Public Art Committee went ahead with the application or this call tonight, that we would post it this week. However, I might be too optimistic.
Say Wednesday.
yeah.
Yeah.
How much of a push is it, or is it just going to be static on the district website, or is it going to go out into the art communities? Is it going to go out to the Lillooet SLR?
SLRD. We have a contact list for artists within Squamish, and we used it before in the major project that went out last year. So we do have a list put together, and we also have our district communication channels, our e-news, our Facebook, all the regular things that we use, we would utilize that. And so hopefully it would gauge some traction, and we'll get some submissions. Last time we did receive quite a few submissions for this, so it was a popular competition and the committee had some choice. So I'm hopeful that the same thing will
So
happen.
they're gonna talk about it on Mountain FM.
Yeah,
We could buy some time on Mountain FM.
Well, it's usually a PSA kind of thing where they just interview someone and you don't really have to buy time. Just interview one of you and say, hey, it's an open competition.
Or a member of the committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
While we're at it, we can talk about the youth competition too. Maybe we can take a moment to talk about youth around it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I don't read as much as I used to. Are they going out to the papers too?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got those.
Um,
Okay,
are we gonna make a concerted, sorry,
So go ahead, Jackie, and Amy, I have you next.
sorry, Amy. Are we gonna make a concerted effort to get to the First Nation community? Because that is falling off our radar.
I'll answer that, and then I'm gonna look to the two of you if you have additional thoughts. I'm confident that the list that Sarah talked about includes Squamish Nation artists.
Okay.
And I think that would be the extent of it. However, point well taken. And if there is anything that could be done, then yeah, let's do it. And I would say I'll leave it in the capable hands of staff.
Yeah, and absolutely. And as you guys, as subject matter experts in public art right now within our community, if you'd like to foster and flame those of your own relationships, please go forth.
If you do need help meeting with various communities, I'll help.
Awesome.
And Jackie, like, feel free to.
Oh, yeah, I just didn't want to step on anybody's toes.
And in a scenario like this, yeah, your own network and your own contacts, 2 thumbs up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, spread the word.
once it's published, you can just spread the link.
Yeah, but I think in certain groups, a personal touch would help.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And then if you've got that personal contact, then,
Okay.
and not just you, but everybody at this
Okay.
table, for sure. Amy.
I have a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
How long are the banners intended to live before we redo this competition? Is it a 4-year cycle?
It's generally a 4-year cycle. You know, operations likes to say that they last 3 years, and we kind of stretch to 4. As materials get better, you know, as the polywovens and the fabrics that they use to do dye, I think we're getting more longevity, but we have really freaking a lot of wind. And it just,
Yeah.
like, it is tough on
It's
them.
been tough this year.
Yeah, it depends on weather cycles and what type of winter we've had and stuff like that.
How many competitions have there been before the last one in 2016?
The most formalized one the district has done was
This
2016.
one.
I believe the one prior to that, the Arts Council actually adjudicated on behalf of the district.
Very cool.
Yeah, because the Chili Tom ones were the ones that were up previously.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh,
I think having a really good promotion and marketing strategy would definitely yield, you know, a really good variety of artists, especially for looking at outside of Squamish. And, you know, I wonder how we can connect with students at schools as well to encourage that. You know, I think it's great that there's going to be 2 opportunities, the youth art project and then the banners that we can.
Yes.
And then just one thing I wanted to say is that I know that outdoors, certain colors tend to fade faster a little than others, like reds, for example. Just something to think about. That's all my comments.
Great, thank you, Amy.
There's,
Yeah, in the design they talk about.
There's a list here.
Catherine?
It is not mentioned. Oh, I just wondered if Swayze had rejoined the committee.
No. not
Okay.
not at this point. Although I've seen her a few times in the last month
I
and a
know
half,
she was
and
away.
yeah, she's been busy.
Yeah.
And then every time I see her, she reassures me she's gonna get her paperwork submitted. So
Okay.
standing by.
I'll bug her too.
Peter, did I see your hand there?
Yeah. Hi. What was the purpose of these originally? Like, what's the history behind them and why they come into fruition?
Street banners?
Yeah. Is there like, oh, these are for something? Was it just?
Yeah, I have no answer for that. I love that you asked it. It's very thorough.
Time immemorial.
Right? Well, I would assume that that it started as downtown beautification efforts, but I couldn't tell you when. And
They've been here as long as I've been here. Like,
Yeah, it's very long term.
yeah.
Because that sometimes determine, from a call to artists what it would be. And the reason I mention it, because when I sat on the BIA, I sat at the table and said that that's something the BIA would love to see, which is beautification of downtown, so that's one of them. But also, I've always said that, especially being a downtown merchant and also being on the BIA, that welcoming people from the highway into downtown Squamish, and that's what I see it. And then speaking to developers as well, where there's talk of what the trucking route is in Squamish and what is Cleveland Avenue and what is the main street, what's the main thoroughfare, whether these banners get extended to an area. So my questions are the review process on this. So, whether...
So the scope of the project is where existing light forms posts are. It would be outside of scope for the committee to be entertaining and recommending to operations to be adding light standards, flag poles.
So to clarify then, these can't just be attached to any light pole, they need the flag pole as well, which is that determines the 75 poles. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the two parts of the review bit, and it came up with the dates, how long this will take to get it all done.
Yeah, may I? Because you're going to find this interesting, given that your first question. The reason why a member of the BIA sits on the Public Art Committee is because the last time this competition was adjudicated, a member of the BIA came and expressed interest in wanting to have a say in that competition, and thus the seat at the table was born. And so that is why the BIA has a voice at this table.
So going back to what I see as the review process before this can be like, oh, let's put it out there.
Yeah.
Two questions like what, with materials changing all the time, like my experience on the Squamish Mural Festival actually was because we used a bit of a unique material, and there's a bit of a story to that which I don't need now, but it was something like when the materials change, it also determines the length of the project. So, speaking to some fabricators, we were talking about materials, and they're like, well, it could go on this other material because it would last a lot longer. So therefore, the 4-year thing is based on things. So I wondered what, and it's more of a rhetorical question, what the review process would be with the facilities manager, no, the operations, so see if it's going to change. And then, but the main purpose for us, I think, is this design guidelines, because all this language to me looks like it was 4 years old.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was during a time when the district and staff and the branding committee were entrenched.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so this is...
So go back to my very first point, which is purpose. Because this can't be written, to me, without a purpose. So in other words, it's like if it's just because we've got a piece of art, like it's pretty simple. It's like we just want da-da-da. But if it's like, BI, if I was sitting in the BI seat, like, well, we want people downtown. It's like, okay, so there better be a story to drag, well, whatever, it could be anything. So I think that would help write these. That's my thoughts.
I will be so bold as to also say that this is the history of the banners is a non-commercial venture. So it has historically been artists and non-commercially inducive. And so if the committee or the BIA were wanting to or look at, staff would need to go away and do fees and charges analysis and installation, things like that.
Yeah, I was just putting that hat on really. My hat sitting at this table is more about, okay, what's the art going to talk about? And it would be
Yeah.
more this up here, which is the councils or towns or the municipality's strategic plan, the environment, planet and neighbourhood connectivity, that could be slots in there, for example.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I have Jackie next, and I'll come back to you. Amy? Jackie, go ahead.
So on Peter's question, just following up that, how many, where exactly are these located?
Mainly downtown.
Just anywhere or any particular streets?
So you'll see them on Cleveland.
Yep.
You'll see them down Pemberton,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a number down Tantalus Road, and then after that they're all little smatterings around our community, like along the. It's not the corridor trail. It's the one on the other side, Discovery Trail. There's a few along the Discovery Trail.
So given that this was designed 4 years ago and there's been massive growth,
Not massive growth in
No.
flagpoles.
No, I'm not talking about flagpoles, I'm talking about massive growth of Squamish.
Yes.
And, you know, there are residential areas and there's sort of light industrial and light, there's that new area now where all the restaurants are in the light industrial area and commercial way.
Yeah.
Is there a thought to expand the program?
That would be an operations question. We are early in the 2020 budget cycle, and I'm fairly confident that that would not rise to the top in terms of the need.
Because then it goes back to purpose. If the purpose is to beautify streetscapes, which art does and gives a pride of place, then hopefully that would be a consideration of operations.
How much are the flagpoles? Do you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, we're getting out of my
Yeah.
area of
Okay.
expertise here.
Um,
Sorry.
And, okay, so we are working with 75 then? Is that, sorry? did I
Yeah,
get-
give or take,
Okay.
plus or
There's some by
minus
the
10.
Anglican Church, for example. So.
Yeah, I'm just sort of wondering how we can, not formalize it, but get a more defined area of where they go and they're not quite so scattered after we get out of the downtown core because of the growth of Squamish? Just a thought.
Noted.
Thank you.
And I've got Amy and then Peter, and we budgeted this discussion until 7, so just take note that I want to roll this. Go ahead, Amy.
Thanks. Just curious about the language here. There's a thematic character and voice that the district of Squamish would like reflected. Is there within the branding of the district and kind of the themes like Peter was mentioning, you know, the strategic priorities, are there again themes like aesthetic themes that are reflected elsewhere? I'm just wondering kind of for a cohesive design, or is it really just up to us?
Candidly, it's really up to you guys.
Okay.
I think that if we, I think if you start getting into aligning it with OCP design guidelines and things like that, it's going to dilute the appeal of applying for it, potentially.
Follow up, Amy?
No, I was just curious about that language, but yeah, no, that's fine.
I was just going to provide a historical answer to them.
Yeah, okay.
Just that we were trying to make it as broad as possible and to reflect the community. We ended up having a huge submission from from one of the elementary schools, and lots of kids' drawings, which we couldn't do them all, but like there was like 15, 20 drawings.
Okay, great. Peter?
Following on the same with Amy, it says voice of DOS. My question is, and this is probably a bigger question, is it the voice of DOS and the voice of the Public Arts Select Committee eventually? And so it was just something that stuck out to me because again, calling for artists, they're like, really? I'm going to do something for the district? No thanks. I don't know, just language. Could be a way of...
You sit at the pleasure of mayor and council.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm saying this is not me. I'm talking about the artist. Is that I don't understand. Sorry, I'm trying to
The language we use
I'm
to
trying
the
to
artist?
clarify that maybe this is the future. Is that where public arts versus District of Squamish sits in a call to artists, and in here it's a District of Squamish Public Arts Select Committee, artists call for street banner projects, and then in the guidelines it says the voice of the DOS. See the difference? Again, I can leave it there. I can leave it there. It's not. I'm just stating.
I hear us deep in the weeds.
Yeah, that's why I say very quick. But when this gets written, though, if it gets rewritten again, I'm just making it. And very quickly, when we do marketing, I was pushed towards can it be an international market or is it local? And that's just a question for us to ponder, because Squamish is becoming such a thing on the map. It's like, where do we decide at some point that we want the biggest artist who's the biggest street banner guy I did thing in New York and LA, or do we want something local and it's homegrown? They both appeal to me, but I don't know where we are now, where we're moving to. Excuse me, I'm not going to talk much more because I can't.
Yeah, you're in rough shape there. Is it quick, Jackie?
Just when this was written, was Hardwired for Adventure, that was our theme.
It
It
still
has
is.
been selected.
It had just been selected, okay.
Yeah,
So that's
I
why
just wanted
it's so
clarification.
on top of the branding.
totally. It
Yeah.
still is our tagline.
Oh, I know
Yeah.
that, I just wasn't sure if it existed when this was written.
Amy?
I just want to say that I think it would be great if we could, I mean, it's lovely to include international famous artists, whatever, but I would like to advocate for local arts to be.
So,
We have so many
Okay,
amazing local
so
artists.
I think I hear some level of consensus there. I agree. I would hate to announce that our banners are going to be designed by somebody from New York. Like,
That would be awesome.
oh, that would not go well.
I could just see the backlash on Facebook Squamish Speaks
Oh, yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Angela?
Facebook would be-
Are we gonna look at compensation and changing that?
Okay.
And also, are we gonna look at upping this deadline? Because I really feel like November
We
1st.
Yeah.
already talked about it.
Yeah.
Let's really dig into that right now. Focus for a couple of minutes here and get this one completed. So let me ask first, Sarah. The design guidelines, item number 1, and your yellow highlights. Is your vision here that the committee is going to focus in on 1 or 2 of these, or endorse all of them as thematic, or?
I'm happy to keep it as it is. I just flagged it in yellow in case the committee wanted to change it.
Okay.
And it currently is in line with our branding and everything's up to date in here.
Okay.
Just for your information. So I'm happy to keep it as it is, but if the committee sees it differently, we can
Yeah.
change it.
So let me just do a quick poll. On this number 1 under guidelines, can we all agree that we want to move ahead with all of this? Does anybody have a concern around any of these, or are we good to go with all of this wording?
Number 1,
Number
design
1.
guideline.
Yep. And so specifically the 5 bullet points.
I'm good with it.
Catherine's good with it? Amy's good with it? Angela?
The only one I'm not sure about is the last point.
Yeah.
Proud of our hard-working logging industry roots and looking forward with an entrepreneurial spirit. Not saying we shouldn't be proud of our logging industry roots, but could we, because I'm just wondering if other things could be overlooked, like there's a big farming industry here too, and there's, there's a few things there that, could we just proud of our hardworking roots and
Okay.
looking forward with an entrepreneurial spirit?
And maybe just take out the specific reference
Yeah,
to
logging so that
forestry?
it's more inclusive of other
Okay,
industries.
which would bring in mining, railroading.
Yeah, exactly, because there's a
Yeah.
big industry.
Okay, I see some wisdom and logic in that, yeah, we're,
Just-
everybody good?
Hardworking roots,
Okay,
get rid of
so-
logging industry.
Sarah, you've noted that. Anything else before we move on?
Peter, do you still have the issue with the voice of the TOS?
I'm sorry.
The voice of the DOS?
I've said that already, so.
Yeah, so, and again, I think that just takes us into minutia and weeds that,
Okay.
so,
Just checking.
Sarah is taking notes down there. Peter, I've noted it.
Yeah, no, I didn't bring it.
Yeah, perfect, good, yeah.
We need to-
So then, I'd like to move on to the next yellow highlight. This opportunity is open to artists who reside in Squamish and available to meet the project timelines. That seems pretty straightforward. Any concerns there?
Yeah.
Jackie?
I suggested that we go to the SLRD. Did I get the acronym correct? Okay.
SLRD goes up to Lillooet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So-
we're talking about Squamish First Nation
So
territory.
we could have a Lillooet artist designing our street banner. Amy?
On that one thing I've just been kind of curious is, could we say resides in Squamish or is a member of the Squamish Nation, which isn't necessarily
That would
just.
be, and that would be down to North Vancouver too,
What do you guys
which
think
is
about
not
that?
SLRD.
That's a
Yeah,
I'm all
I like the
for
feel of
that.
that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay,
Resident of Squamish or.
Or member of the Squamish Nation.
I'm okay with that.
yeah, Sarah, you got that one?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Compensation, so $500 prize. I like the idea of upping it a bit.
It reflected
Inflation.
our budget at the time.
So we have quite a bit of room, is it coming out of our budget? Okay.
For this year or for next year?
Yeah.
for this year.
Okay.
As is the printing and installation.
Nope.
That's
Right
next
on.
year.
Oh,
So
we have some clay in our.
how about $1,000?
Oh, I'd like to do it higher. I was gonna say 1,500.
1,500?
Yeah.
I
It's
like
been
it.
4
If
years.
there's room in the
Can-
budget.
Can we, oh yeah, there's room in the budget.
There's room in the
Yeah, I was
budget. And that
thinking
might-
15 to 2.
That would open it up probably to
Yeah.
more
Can-
artists,
so-
that would be more. like-
Can I check in of consensus of 1,500?
Just one question.
Peter?
When we did Solterra, what was the numbers for that?
The artists, oh, their budget was huge.
Yeah, what was it? Not for the, just for their time.
Oh, just for submitting an application. I don't remember, sorry.
I was trying to see if we had any examples around the table of this before, because to me, if you say 500 or 2,000, because I
I was
have
gonna
no
say-
experience with these applications, it could be a very small amount or it could be massive.
So I've heard 1,500 and I've heard 2,000.
I like that 2,000.
Jackie likes $2,000.
I like $2,000.
And Catherine likes $2,000.
Right?
Okay, so
If we can afford
can
it.
we then settle on 2,000?
If we can afford it, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
you
It's
guys are.
500 a year.
We're flush.
It's every
You're
4
fine.
years.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
that's a good point. I like that.
Okay, now let's look at the timeline.
That's a tight time.
My own thought here is keep it tight, light a fire.
Fair, but
Get-
not
get
so
'em going.
tight that nobody hears about it.
How about do it backwards? We want these for the spring, summer.
You will want to be adjudicating by the December meeting.
Why
So they're
the
ready
December
for the
To
summer.
get a run on.
To give staff the time to go to print and just give them some time. You want
Lead times.
to, you want to
over
be
Christmas.
adjudicating,
Yeah.
you just want to be adjudicating in
Yeah.
December.
Yeah.
So when you say adjudicating, do we have to have picked it by the end of our meeting on this, in December?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Which you,
Yeah.
it does,
Or do we have to have a special meeting?
no, your meeting will be on Wednesday, December 4th. I would recommend we set the deadline to be November 25th because it sounds nice, it's a Monday.
Let's do
Nice.
November 25th,
It's
so
a
that's
ni-
more.
As a submission deadline?
As a
Yeah.
submission deadline.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry, 5, 6, 7 weeks is great. It gives Sarah a week and a bit to tighten it up, put the marketing plan together and put it into action. And I think 6 weeks is probably the happy medium of a month being too short and 2 months being too long.
Okay, so if we move submission deadline to November 25th, what would that do to the shortlist presentations and selection date?
That's fine. It would be at the December 4th
Okay.
Public Art
Okay.
Committee meeting.
And production January 2020, that would
Yeah.
remain the same, okay? Good.
And how long is the short list?
Staff will show you all eligible submissions.
Oh, okay.
Okay, great. So at this point, does it make best sense for the committee to generate a motion that would be along the lines of the committee requests that staff move ahead with the banner program based on discussion in this meeting?
Sarah's gonna be the expert in this one.
I think you should pass a motion about the money separately.
Okay?
So I think you should, that staff move forward with the public art call for artists for street banners as amended to increase, well,
How about based on feedback from the committee,
based on feedback
And?
from the committee, and that the award be increased to $2,000.
$2,000. Okay. And how are you doing? You got all that?
Quite a bit of
Enough of it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, do I have somebody willing to move the motion? So, Jackie is mover and Catherine is seconding the motion. Now, is there any discussion? I'll call
About the money.
no, specifically about the motion.
This motion is, sorry, I'm a little bit foggy.
Yeah, that's good.
This
So,
motion is simply for the money.
it,
But money and the other amendment.
so it,
You have to repeat.
yeah, Peter, so it confirms $2,000
Yeah.
as the cash prize for the winning design and endorses everything in the report plus our amendments around changing the dates and all the other discussion that we've had.
Sorry, give me a sec.
Yeah,
Can I just check in with everybody first?
please do.
Can I check in with everybody in the round table, including myself, whether the comfort level with this, because maybe I'm just overthinking it. Is this really simple? It's just same as last year, and we made a couple of amendments, done, and off you go. Or, and I know, and I don't want to be this whirl in the room right now because we're all super busy, there's changes and stuff like that. This has landed in front of me, and it can be really simple when I'm overthinking it, which I'll take all your guys' input. Or I'm like, I haven't had time to think about this, and the amendments are like, we've done, thank you very much. You know what I mean? I feel like when we started the conversation, these design guidelines were completely different, and they're 4 years old, and they need a big review. And then, you know, if we had a committee meeting every week, we'd be like, yeah, sweet, next week, let's review and put a stamp of approval. Because right now, as I understand the motion, is to say, yeah, everything's good, and this is just moving ahead, and in November we'll get submissions that look at them. Which I will say personally, like only because I didn't see this in the email, I didn't have time to look at it. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm not saying it's bad, I just wanted to throw that out there and just check everybody's level of comfort. Because I think it's great, I see this and I always just process things now.
And so
And
what are you trying to get our views on this then?
Hmm?
Are we supposed to do a round table now and kind of give our?
I don't know, I'm just throwing it out
Yeah,
there.
no, I'm happy to do that.
Sure.
It's like I wouldn't mind your input to me because I'm like, oh, so maybe this really simple. You sat on the committee before, and I feel like, you know what, this is a pretty simple process. Like,
Okay.
The amendments go.
So we have the motion on the floor. I think everybody's clear on what the motion is. And Peter's asked for a check-in. What is your level of comfort with how we're moving forward
Yeah,
with this? Catherine?
Okay.
Because I wanted, sorry, just one more thing, because I want to make aim for that December date. That's where I'm like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. I want to get to the December date. How do we get to the December date without rushing?
So Peter, let's hear from Catherine.
Okay. Right, well, I'm comfortable with it. It could all be edited differently in a slightly different way, but I think that it's the meaning I'm thinking of, and I don't really have a problem with the meaning because it's broad and can bring in a lot of different ideas. And I can recall what we got last time, which was a lot of artistic options, but not all of them practical for making banners. And I am going to expect that we will get that again. Because sometimes people don't need I mean, to me, in some ways, the instructions of creation are almost the most important.
I want to keep us
Sum up.
moving.
Yeah,
So
sum up,
I think we have this. Yep.
And
Sum
the
up.
rest of it, I'm good with. I like the addition of the member of Squamish Nation, just to broaden it.
Okay.
And that's, I support that.
Anyone else want to chime in with comfort level?
That helped.
Okay, so seeing none, I'll add myself into this discussion. I do think maybe you're a little overthinking it. I'm completely comfortable with what we're doing here and the speed at which we're moving on this. I get the thought about a little bit more maybe for next year that talks about the purpose of this program. And, I look to Sarah and Devin to make a note of that as something that we could incorporate potentially into the process next year as an improvement.
Or
You know,
4 years from now.
yes, yeah, 4 years from now.
Yeah, maybe have an extra month of consideration, just
And-
throw it on the agenda.
Purely as a constructive, hey, we have this really great program and here's a way that we can make it even better. So I will be voting in favor of the motion that we have in front of us. Jacquie?
Just as a point of check-in, to Peter's point, I agree with this, but it would be, and we kind of talked about this last time, is having this kind of additional information ahead of time so we can
Yes.
come prepared with our questions and forethought, so that we're not kind of just thrown into this instantly. So just for future, if
Yeah.
we could get this material in advance, it would be great.
Noted, yeah. Anybody else? Because Sarah.
Just a quick FYI as well. We had a bit of a transition of like about 2 weeks where I was in 2 jobs and not making excuses, but it was tight deadlines. And I did try and get this to you guys a bit in advance, but before I sent it out or brought it to the committee today, it has been reviewed by communications and it's also been reviewed by the manager of procurement. So in terms of the content of it, you should feel comfortable that it's up to date and that it has had expert eyes over it. And I feel like I maybe made some trouble with my yellow highlighting. That was just more of a, do you want a specific theme like reconciliation, or do you want to make a focused theme rather than creating trouble or saying it was out of date?
Yep.
It was just for thought.
Perfect, yeah. Thanks for that additional info. Unless there's any more thoughts, I want to call a question. And so now, on the motion that's in front of us, which is increasing the winning design to $2,000 and endorsing what we have in front of us, plus the additional feedback that we've given. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Great. Unanimous. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is an update from Jacquie on the most recent ADP meeting. Jacquie, what have you got for us?
Well, the ADP didn't meet for the summer, and then all of a sudden we met twice in September and we'll meet twice in October. Several designs have come forward that are really exciting. One is the Buckley Avenue affordable housing piece. It's to the north of the high school. It's a very exciting piece in that it's affordable housing, yet the architects and the designers took into consideration an artistic design, which made me very happy. There were some thoughts on maintenance, and some of the more studied people in architecture gave their input, but I'd like to share that with the committee. There are opportunities for public art, a lot of opportunities for public art, in the skate park, in the entranceway, they're actually moving the youth center into this place, so there's opportunity for public art in that space. There's talk about connecting the south end of the parking lot into the skate park, so there's opportunity, and making that a possible sort of amphitheater movie night space. So again, more opportunity for public art. And I guess the more I say it on that committee is that people are starting to see public art isn't just a piece of art stuck on a pedestal in front, that they also see the building as an art form, thankfully. So you can see that in this piece. So that was very exciting, and I'd like to see that brought to the committee where opportunities exist for artists to participate in including the public art, and there's also opportunity for the youth, a big opportunity, I think, in that piece. So it's very, very exciting. I just don't know the mechanism of how we bridge that gap from that piece of art to the public art committee. That is a mechanism that remains unknown. So something to think about for the future. This one came, this North the Arts Phase 2, it came through, I'm going to send it this way.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful piece of architecture as well. It's not a piece of slab. It's market rental. There are also opportunities for public art in that space that they want. Again, to cover concrete, so mural art, possibly opportunities for green art, where the greenery is used as sculpture in a sculptural way, and the greenery that is year-round, not just sort of seasonal greenery. So that's that piece, and that's just on Government Road, where it kind of bends and goes towards the Whale Museum at that
Oh,
point.
just a quick greenery question in terms of, will they make sure that it's not like an invasive species, or are we going to be, would it be, oh, you're not that far in the conversation?
There's a list of landscape material in the plan. You can take a look at it.
Okay.
I think they usually stick to species that are native to Squamish and or BC, as far as I know, and the climate. They also take into account the climate and the soil.
Just so done invasive species.
Oh, I agree.
The planning department, you know,
Okay.
That's very much vetted. And there's also at least one, if not two, experts on the panel who are landscape people who really go through that. But your point well taken. The third one is a piece by Cornerstone, and it's happening up in the Blind Channel. Did I say that correctly, right? The Manfred Channel. It's this piece. It's very dense, very, very dense. There's a lot of phases to it. The developer wants to put public art in because there's a children's play area. There's an activity center for adults. There will be a commercial sort of restaurant, possibly brewery place close to the road. A lot of concern around color and form of the building. It's very, very bland at the moment. So there were some very strong statements made around the table to up that and change it. I'll move that way. As I said, the developer wants to bring the public art into the realm, but they want to put it into the second or third phase. And my recommendation was to bring it in the first phase, because people are going to be living there, and you want it not to turn into graffiti alley. You don't want it because it's very tightly packed. It's a very tightly packed space. There's also a bridge path going to be built across the north end, and they're going to use that as a public art space. I don't know how. It's yet to be discussed. It's coming back to committee at the end of October in a special meeting. So, yeah. I bring that question back to the committee: is how do we want ourselves to be, sort of get a mechanism going to, so in that first piece, the affordable housing piece, how do we bridge that gap from the public art committee? I mean, not just me, but just functionally, of saying, okay, they're ready to put out a call for art. Does it come to the public art committee? They come make a presentation to the public art committee. How does that work?
Devin?
If I would make a suggestion, so between yourself as sitting on ADP and planners, the conversation typically goes, the Public Art Committee is an available resource to you to guide and educate on public art in the public realm, and they are here to to provide assistance. And then it goes from there, and whether or not pressure can be applied to the developer through the planner to engage the Public Art Committee, but they're under no obligation.
Yeah.
And we certainly saw Solterra and their
Yeah.
project just
Absolutely.
on Cleveland, around the corner from where we are now. And Bethel Land Corporation and their project on the Malcolm Blind Channel. The name is Sirocco.
Yes.
So both of those developments specifically, I have memory of coming to this committee and seeking our participation and involvement. So there are definitely developers out there who are well aware of what we have to offer in the way of resource. And I think we'll just see more of that as
Yeah.
awareness of the committee reaches the development community. I see.
Okay.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those are the only two we've ever had. Is that correct? I agree. I think more people will come on board when they, particularly when they see other projects that we've been involved with in commercial property or in residential properties and commercial properties.
I think sorry, Andrea.
I was just gonna say, is the mechanism then, as the person sitting on that committee, make a because we're asked, there are two parts to it. We go around the table asking questions, and then we go around the table and make recommendations. So is it within my purview to then make a recommendation that they come and make a presentation to the Public Art Committee?
Yeah,
I'm just
again,
throwing that out there.
Your recommendation could be that. Your recommendation could be that they, in forming a competition committee, include members of public art in,
The advocacy.
Yeah, oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Depending on the feel of the developer and what you're getting, those are probably gonna be your two easiest,
Okay.
like, sliding into the old DMs.
Yeah. And just any questions on any of these projects? As I said, the one is definitely coming back to us, that the Cornerstone Redbridge one. Are there any comments that you'd like me to take back to that meeting?
Good. So I'm looking around the table, and
Which one was that, on the second one?
The very last one,
Oh,
on the
yeah,
Malcolm
so,
Blind Channel.
and just to make sure there's no confusion, this project is called Redbridge.
Yes, it is.
I'm not sure where you're getting Cornerstone from.
It's on the front.
Oh, it is, eh?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Cornerstone's the architect.
is the architect.
Okay, got it. So I
It's
just,
not the name of the project, it's the name of the architect.
excellent. And I want to make sure that we're not getting that project confused with the existing building that is known as Cornerstone here in
No,
Cleveland.
this
So,
is Red.
yeah, and it is located on Scott Crescent, just off of Highway 99, across from the KF, what used to be KFC, the Shell station
Yeah.
and the Mexican,
Mags.
the other side of Highway 99.
Next.
Yes. Now Sunny Chiba.
Yeah.
So just as landmarks, so everybody knows exactly where that project is set.
It's my understanding also that it's rare, although not unheard of, that developments come back to ADP a second time. So just as a point of clarification, when Jackie brings these comments back, she herself may not see them again. They might have gone through their ADP process successfully and not have to come back.
Yeah. That's where I'm finding it we're kind of out of jog here. Some of these may never come back to me. That one is definitely coming back, so I can take comments back. So I'm just trying to understand how we get comments.
Yeah, okay. Angela?
Real quick to make sure I understand the process, when the developer starts the application process to develop, is there somewhere at the beginning of that process where they are made aware of the fact that there is a public art committee?
Yes, it is fairly low down on the list of things that scare them before they get to.
Oh, I don't mean
public
about
art.
scaring them.
No,
It's
no,
more
that-
about inspiring them to, hey, wow, that's great, there's an active public art committee with the district that we could get in touch with about,
Use as a
This-
resource.
use as a resource and work with for the public art component that we would like to put into our development.
Yeah,
And how can we
it's
fund
very
this?
altruistic. It's not necessarily the lens or within the initial list of priorities that developers meet with planners and talk about. They're more focused on the community amenity contribution policy and focusing on the priorities that exist within that policy.
Anything follow up? Quick?
So is there any way, I'm not talking about like it needs to be a priority, I'm just saying that they become aware of it. Like, it's kind of like, that they can be told that we exist and
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that
planning department,
So that when we get to Jacquie and she's at the EDP meeting, that it's not a big surprise to them, oh, there is one. And, you know, that they, earlier on in the process, they could know that we exist and that we can be a resource. I don't know if that's possible.
So I think this is very much about the individual developers and their values. You know, the information that they get when they submit an application is consistent.
Yes.
And then once they get that, where do they have public art in their values and their priorities? And if it's nowhere, then it'll be lost. And if they're like Solterra or Bethel and it's important to them, then, you know, they're on it. So I think it varies from developer to developer.
Yeah, I think I'm just saying, can it be part of the process?
Yeah.
I understand from developer to developer, some are gonna say yay and some are gonna say nay. What I'm saying is that could it be part of the standard process that they understand that within the district there's a public art committee, so if they choose to follow down a Solterra kind of route and want to use this as a resource, we exist. Like earlier on in the process.
So there's an awareness of
That
us.
it's an
Yep.
awareness piece, it's part of the information, it's not necessarily has to be made a priority.
Yep, okay.
to push on it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Sarah's making notes.
To
Peter?
your point, if I use the Solterra thing that we sat on, yes, that happened. And so this is my question, is that it is actually more of a council thing that you decide within planning that, or the council, like we want money from you to do social housing, we want to do this. So the conversation, I understand maybe you could fill in the gaps because we only had one part of it, was that Solterra was like, hey, if you're going to build this building, we want Loggers Lane to look beautiful. That's a requirement. And that's what, I don't know if that's ADP or the council or whoever it was. So I think your question, which is what I would also agree with the statement, is that there are mechanisms you can put in place that is either A, we want every single house development in Squamish to have 1% of your budget go towards art. That could be the council decision. Or it could be more of a soft one. It's like, hey, by the way, but that's a complex, long road of.
Yeah.
you're talking about the community amenity contribution policy. And the priority, and the council priorities have influenced the last round of the community amenity contributions.
So how did the Solterra thing play out? How did they put a piece of public art on the side of the building? What's the story behind that?
Sarah?
I believe in the ADP meeting that a part of the discussion was activating the Loggers Lane side of the development, and that was a recommendation from ADP, and it wasn't council mandated. It was requested by the ADP, and then it went forward and ultimately ended up in what you saw.
So Jacquie then,
Yes.
is part of the thing.
There you
that's
go.
where used to be.
Yeah, that's great feedback, and it comes right back to your initial thought of that disconnect and what's your role, and so you know that's perfect bit of feedback for you at the ADP table, and the kind of role you can play.
I think as well, like the table of ADP,
Yeah.
it was a common theme that they felt on that development. Loggers Lane was bland, and looking
Yeah.
at the future of Squamish, that new developments along that road should be activated on both sides. So that was the feedback that went back from that panel meeting.
And I'm starting to notice, like particularly on this North Yard piece, quite a number of comments around the table were from other people other than myself, of including art along the back wall and making it more engaging.
I noticed that in the minutes too.
Yeah, but how do we then say the Buckley Avenue piece? Is there a point in the process where they will then be triggered to come to our committee and make a presentation? Or does everybody look at this piece at this table and then send comments to you to then pass on to the planning committee or the planning representative?
This is This is a different one. And this is a different one because it involves
The province.
the
Yeah.
province and the district
Yeah.
and community housing and things like that. And the greater good of this project is, and everyone working so hard to make that happen. Yes, art is important. I think this is something that's very sensitive right now, and that they need to get a little further underway. And if
Oh, yeah.
my recommendation on that one would be that there's a lot of levels of government trying to make this happen, and that if public art doesn't appear in the first few years of it built and functioning, then that's an opportunity at another point that can be discussed.
Sarah, did you have anything to add to that?
I agree with that, and I think it could be something that we could use as, like, if there's a blank canvas there, we could have a public art competition, or it's something that we could look at as a committee once it's built down the line.
Okay.
And that was a concern around the table, was that there's lots of blank pieces of concrete, like especially in the park and that area going into the youth center, that it would become a tagging spot.
Catherine?
Oh, just bringing in that this is not the first social housing project with the CSCA Community Services and BC Housing, and that there's the one that's attached to Centre Point as well. So they've pushed their, you know, their priority is to house people. And while I support non-tagging and public art clearly, and I think it's an interesting thing to talk about once everything's built.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And even to the point of trying to find, if we can't get public funding or some kind of funding, to look at see if there's private funding possible. For sure, I support that.
Okay, good feedback. Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
And I want to move on now to our next item. If Jackie, you're...
I'm done.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Thank you for the feedback.
Item number 3 is the student update. Angela.
Yep. So I met with Sarah last week and Evan.
That's being kind, saying that you met.
Yes, I met with Evan briefly, and then and I found out the wonderful news that everyone has been promoted, which is very exciting. And I got to sit down with Sarah, who is awesome, and mostly just because I wanted to review before I go back to Natalie, and I still want to try to get over to John Ross as well, middle school, to present again to the students and to hopefully start to fire. With this competition, I wanted to make sure that we had a public art application that was geared towards this competition specifically, because there were a few amendments that would need to happen from an educator standpoint. And then also wanted to talk about possible places that I could let students know. Like, students sometimes need a little bit of narrowing down. Sometimes if you give them too broad of a scope, it's harder for them to narrow down. Not all students do, but some do. So anyway, I think all of you have a public student competition public art application in front of you, and I've had a chance to review it, and I think it looks okay. It includes the money, the budget that we've passed a motion for last spring. It includes the theme. It gives some examples. These sorts of things need to just, again, add a little bit more detail for students to bite into and get excited about. And then, of course, things had to be added, such as teacher-mentor contact, and it's important to have parental consent, or at least the idea that parents are aware that their children are applying for this and that they support them in that. So, and then otherwise, it looks very similar to our regular public art application. And I will walk the students through this, and then Ashley, I'm assuming you'll be around too. You're taking art this year, right?
I'm not,
Oh,
but I'm
you're not?
often in the art room.
Oh, great. Oh, I thought you'd be there. Okay, great. Well, anyway, I'm sure you can hype this up maybe with your peers, so that would be great.
I'm also in art club.
Oh, that would be great if you could, and you should apply. Yeah, no. You might not be able to vote on it when we adjourn and decide, but adjudicate it. But in any case, so just to run this through, and again, I did go over this with Devin and with Sarah, some ideas we had to give students to work with in terms of possibilities to create some public art in the community. So just local parks such as Junction, Rose Park, Brackendale Fisherman's Park. That's if students want to do sculpture. There's also possibility of if they wanted to do a mural that could just sort of be, sort of staked into the ground or something like that. We could look at that. There was the walk block, I think, Devin, you set up at Highlands Way North. And then when we were sitting in Brennan Park, I can't remember the name of it. Camilla came in and she said that she would love to have a new mural on a large wall in where the children's play center area is. Or-
That's not gonna happen.
Oh, that's not going to happen. Okay.
But Brennan Park internally, any
Yes.
open blank walls
Lots
in
of
there,
space.
there's lots of space in there, and they would love to
Okay.
see some more murals.
The Director of Recreation particularly has a fondness for public art and has approved.
Funny, that.
That's weird. So anyway, and there's some, we're looking at, maybe we can, tell students, Ryan, that the Adventure Center might have space, that 55 Activity Center. And then of course, if they want to approach any, people that live in downtown or anywhere like that, and get permission from a local business that would like to have a mural or something put up. But in any case, I will talk with the students through this whole process, and the idea again being that I think we would like submissions by sort of beginning or mid-December. We're going to be busy adjudicating another thing anyway in December, so that the idea is that we want to be able to award this sort of in the winter, in early enough in the new year, so that students can start planning to install it in the spring. And if it's something that they can start creating soon enough in the winter, that would be great. So some of these murals can be created on plywood and then installed later, right? So we'll have to wait and see what they give us, see what they come up with. So, and I'll work closely with Natalie and any other teachers in the community. There's several schools I want to, if I can't visit physically and go visit, I definitely want to send this, the PowerPoint I put together, get in touch with local art educators and teachers in general.
Great. Thank you for your
That's
hard
it.
work
I was gonna
on this.
say, wow.
Yeah, it's
No, this,
Super
ah,
work.
it's fine. Great, and it's wonderful. Devin and Sarah have been excellent help, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Natalie, too. Yeah. Thank you.
perfect. So you're not necessarily looking for any specific feedback from
This
us
is,
tonight?
Unless you have specific
Yeah.
feedback, but otherwise, or you have a great objection to something, but otherwise, I was just updating.
Yeah,
You'll
perfect.
see me around soon.
Um,
Wonderful.
So I'm just gonna do a quick scan around the table, and I'm particularly scanning in Ashley's direction.
Yes, Ashley, is
Do
there
you,
anything
do you have any
missed,
feedback or any thoughts on what you see here from a student perspective? And if you don't, that's great too.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's good to have a lot of guidance. Like, I find that a lot of students, they just kind of, like, oh my god, it's too much. There's just, I don't know what to do.
Right, yeah.
No thoughts come to mind.
But do you think that, hopefully, the dance that we always do is try to give you something, but not to pigeonhole you too much? Do you feel
Yeah.
like you have enough room to move and come up with some ideas if you were to apply
Yeah.
for this?
I think so.
Okay. Awesome, thank you. Well, if you have any other feedback, just let me know.
Sure.
Okay.
It's very comprehensive.
What's that?
You've got a very comprehensive list here. That's very good.
And so just one final check. Any additional feedback on this topic?
Thank you, it was great.
Thank you.
I'm very
Just
successful.
say thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Good, so then we will move on to the next item, which is number 4, staff update. Sarah and Devin.
Me again. So 2 quick updates. We had expected Daniel Fox from last meeting to come back to give an update. He has politely deferred. The feedback from the Ministry of Transportation was as we expected. And so he has gone back to revise his plan and will come back to the committee once he has a direction that he is excited about. He is currently busy in his book launch.
So, and just to, so the broader audience understands, as expected, you're referring to the Ministry of Highways does not like his idea and have encouraged him to find a different location. Is that correct?
That is a very polite way of saying that.
Okay. And so that's the update on Mr.
So
Fox.
that's the update on Mr. Fox. And I wanted to give the committee a quick update on the Arts, Culture and Heritage Strategy. The community, the broad-based community survey that was out at a lot of summer events and obviously online. We tried to spam everyone as much as possible. Well, we were successful because we've got over 900 people having filled out the survey.
That's amazing.
Well
So,
done.
We kind
I like
of, from a staff perspective, we kind of beat every other survey this year. So that's pretty exciting.
Sweet.
That is awesome.
So that's great.
Excellent.
We're saying the survey's closed. If you clicked on the link, and you would still be able to, but we're in the process of pulling data and starting to disseminate that data and use it to form the questions that will that our consultant will have with the stakeholder meetings. So the next step in the strategy is to get together with the specific list of stakeholders. There's about 25 to 30 of them. They include the Bracknell Art Gallery, they include the Public Art Committee, they obviously include the Squamish Arts Council, makers, dancers, musicians, entrepreneurs of all sorts that contribute to the cultural fabric of Squamish. And so Sarah is working on booking those meetings for any time in October and early November. After those meetings are concluded, then again, another pull of information, a dissemination and evaluation. Are you doing okay?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. And then once that information has been disseminated, a series of 3 workshops that bring those stakeholders together will be conducted in late November, early December. And then we will write up the strategy or the outcomes of the strategy, and we will present a first draft to council in late December. So the Public Art Committee is on deck to have their meeting in November, the next November meeting. So we're, with Chair's permission, we're going to take approximately 30 to, let's just say 30 minutes for now.
Because 30 will probably
But-
evolve into 45.
Yes,
on the
let's just set that expectation.
Yep.
Where the committee can have a robust dialogue based on the community feedback.
Okay, now, so based on some discussion earlier, I would request that in preparation for this discussion,
Yeah.
you push out as much information beforehand without flooding us necessarily.
Yeah.
Use your good judgment, so that when we meet at this table, we've all had an opportunity to review something, to come prepared with some thoughts. That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be, that's great. Just a quick question, and because I did fill out the survey, but what is the end sort of game? What is the main purpose of having this strategy? Is it to, because we've never had a strategy? Okay.
I mean, that's not obviously the objective of the strategy.
No.
But the objective of the strategy is to understand how people in Squamish participate in arts, culture, and heritage experiences, the barriers to participating in those experiences, and what is within the district levers to influence.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. That's everything on that one?
That is everything on that one. And then your usual budget update, which I can add in the $2,000 for that. No, I did it already. Ooh. Did you guys spend more money at the beginning of today?
We
Yes.
spent $2,000 on banners.
Banners.
Banner competition award.
There you go. Okay. I'll add that in there, or Sarah will add that in there for next week.
And so from this, I think it's safe to say we don't necessarily have any money concerns
Correct.
at this committee.
Any unspent dollars roll into the reserve.
Great. Are there any questions out of these updates? Comments? Anything? Nothing? Okay, great. I think we can move on then.
The cultural, arts and cultural heritage survey.
Oh, good, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
Yeah.
It is,
It is very exciting.
Yeah.
it's,
Sorry,
yeah.
I didn't get to just say that. but-
No, yeah, it is very
My
exciting.
question was that it is very exciting that we
Yeah.
have the strategy.
And so the success of the survey, just I think it's worth noting that I think there was some energy amongst us at this table to contribute to that
Absolutely.
level of participation. So thank you for what you did in reaching out to your people, your networks, because I'm confident that you made a difference in getting that level of participation. So thank you all. Thanks, Devin. Thanks, Sarah. So that will take us now to round table discussion. I'll just check in with everybody. Do you have anything that didn't come up in our agenda that you'd like to share before we terminate the meeting? Jacquie?
Just that I've noticed, I guess it's Liesl Peterson. Is that the Solterra that everybody's referring to? She's painting on the side of a building that,
That's downtown.
yeah, that's downtown. There was
Trees,
being
yeah.
a hole in the ground when I moved to Squamish. It's now almost finished. And she's painting on the side of the Husky
Mhm.
gas
Oh.
station.
Okay, so this is the Cleveland Garden Project.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay, didn't know it had a
Yep.
name. Nice to know that.
Um,
So
well,
I've been
I'm on-
watching her on Instagram, and as the project goes forward, it's going to be quite
It
stunning.
looks
Great.
nice.
It looks very lovely, so,
And she's like posting regularly on Instagram?
yeah.
I'm going to
And
follow because
Facebook, and
I don't know
Facebook.
anything about this.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's a
Devin?
lovely piece.
No, totally, and that's an example where the planner on the file saw the opportunity and the risk to the community by not having anything there, and ensured that there was a plan for the side of that building.
Yeah.
Mm.
But was it an afterthought?
No,
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't believe so.
Okay, so it was part of their plan, just at the end of their building cycle.
I think that that building is built with the assumption that at some point there's going to be another building right up against it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So the art chosen would reflect that.
yeah.
Great. Anything else, Jacquie?
I just happened to see it and I thought, what a wonderful, did this come through our process or was it just something the builder did on their own and they put their own RFP out? I don't know, just wondered.
Anybody else? No? Okay. So I have one quick item. At our last meeting, I made a commitment within a week after the meeting to snap a picture of the youth art that got painted onto Cloudburst Cafe's Malcolm. I didn't do it. I'm recommitting. I will make that stop.
I have some,
Do you?
yeah,
Okay, well, you make my life one step easier and email.
I will, yeah.
And then the other part of my commitment of that was to get it onto our GIS art map. So if you email that to me within the next week,
It's on our Facebook page, I'll just shoot it to you right now.
Thank you.
And
How
Sarah will email you out the links again, both of you, so they're
The
top of
GIS.
mind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, I'm a big fan of that tool, and I want to see everything captured on there because it really is a great tool, and it underutilized at this point. So anything that I can do and we can do to create more awareness about that is constructive.
The legal people there too.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
we should.
Yeah, for sure.
And do we have the piece that's on the sidewalk, on the walkway just outside the library?
Oh, I
That
don't
was
know.
painted this summer?
Yes, yes.
And also the one inside the library?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are two.
I don't know.
I don't-
revive the
We'll-
GIS.
We'll share it and we can look at it.
Yeah.
Just remind us that we're actually actively doing what we're supposed to be
Would
doing,
it-
encouraging public art.
Just hold back $200 until they post it, and then like there's the final check. Then you don't have to do anything, we don't have to do anything, the artist does it, and then it's a cash incentive.
Excellent. All right, so it looks like we don't have any other contributions to the roundtable, so I'll be looking for,
Oh, I was just gonna say,
Catherine?
I'm supposed to be in the library foyer gallery. I'm not 100% sure that I am because I haven't heard anything about it, but that's at the beginning of November.
so
Oh.
your work will
My
be
work,
featured?
Yes.
Nice.
Is it a theme or is it your work as the whole installation?
Not the whole installation, I'm working, there's another artist, but it's mosaic, it's like recent mosaics, which I'm battling to put together.
Oh, beautiful.
Using, yeah, lots of fossils.
And is it the opening night, the same night as our?
I don't know, I haven't heard from Toby.
It
so
tends
I've
to
got something.
coincide with our meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right, that has
Yes.
happened in the past.
Oh, God, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can change that, I think there's
Because it comes
some
over that,
flexibility.
yeah.
All right, thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
Good,
Because
so
we'd like to be there. Some
Yeah,
of us
I'd like-
anyway.
like you to be there too. Okay.
unless there's anything else, I'll look for a motion to terminate our meeting. Moved by Angela, seconded by
My
Catherine.
dog, actually.
And all those in favor? Motion carries, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.